No matter what happens out here, it'll all be your fault. Good luck.
Hey, welcome to Attack the Stack. If you like that, try this.
Everything can change in an instant, whether or not you're ready.
Fallout 4 is an action role-playing game developed by Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. The game is set within an open-world post-apocalyptic environment that encompasses the city of Boston and the surrounding Massachusetts region known as the Commonwealth. The main story takes place in the year 2287, 10 years after the events of Fallout 3 and 210 years after the Great War, which caused catastrophic nuclear devastation across the United States. The player assumes control of a character referred to as the Sole Survivor, who emerges from a long-term cryogenic stasis in Vault 111, an underground nuclear fallout shelter. After witnessing the murder of their spouse and kidnapping of their son, the sole survivor ventures out into the Commonwealth to search for their missing child. The player explores the game's dilapidated world, completes various quests, helps out factions, and acquires experience points to level up and increase the abilities of their character. New features to the series include the ability to develop and manage settlements and an extensive crafting system where materials scavenged from the environment can be used to craft drugs and explosives, upgrade weapons and armor, and construct, furnish, and improve settlements. Fallout 4 also marks the first game in the series to feature full voice acting for the protagonist. Fallout 4 received positive reviews from critics, with many praising the world depth, player freedom, overall amount of content, crafting, and soundtrack. The game received numerous accolades from various gaming publications and award events, including the respective awards for Game of the Year and Best Game at the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences and British Academy Games Awards. Borderlands 3 is an action role-playing first-person shooter game developed by Gearbox Software and published by 2K Games. The plot is centered around stopping the cult-leading twins, Troy and Tyrene Calypso, from harnessing the power of the alien vaults spread across the galaxy. Players, either playing alone or in parties of up to 4 people, make a character from one of the 4 classes available and take on various missions given out by non-playable characters and at bounty boards to gain experience, in-game monetary rewards, and reward items. Players can also gain these items by defeating enemies throughout the game. As the player gains levels, they gain skill points to allocate across a skill tree. Unlike previous Borderlands games where each character had only one unique skill that operated on a cooldown, each character in the new game can unlock 3 unique skills, though only one, or in Zane's case 2, can be equipped at a time, greatly expanding the number of potential character builds a player can make. While the game starts on the planet Pandora, the player early on gains access to a spacecraft, Sanctuary 3, which serves as a central hub between missions and is used to set destinations for new planets where possible vaults have been identified. While aboard Sanctuary 3, players can manage their inventory, recover guns that they had left on the field, purchase new guns and upgrades, and take on optional missions. Borderlands 3 shares the same core loop with the previous games around taking on missions, defeating enemies, and obtaining loot from fallen foes or special chests, most often in the form of procedurally generated weapons to vary in damage, range, ammo capacity, and other special perks, giving the game over 1 billion guns. The in-game manufacture of the guns plays a large role in the type of perks a weapon can have. Upon release, Borderlands 3 received generally favorable reviews. No Man's Sky is an exploration survival game developed and published by the indie studio Hello Games. The game is built around 4 pillars: exploration, survival, combat, and trading. Players are free to perform within the entirety of a procedurally generated, deterministic open-world universe, which includes over 18 quintillion planets. Through the game's procedural generation system, players have their own ecosystems with unique forms of flora and fauna, and various sentient alien species may engage the player in combat or trade within planetary systems. Players advance in the game by mining for resources to power and improve their equipment, buying and selling resources using credits earned by documenting flora and fauna, and otherwise seeking out the mystery around the Atlas, an entity at the center of the galaxy. The founder of Hello Games, Sean Murray, had wanted to create a game that captured the sense of exploration and optimism of science fiction writing screenwritings and art of the 1970s and 1980s with No Man's Sky. Since the game's initial release, Hello Games has continued to improve and expand No Man's Sky to achieve the vision of the experience they wanted to build. The game has received multiple major content updates and have introduced several previously missing features, such as multiplayer components, while adding new features like surface vehicles, base building, space fleet management, and virtual reality support. Planets have their own ecosystems with unique forms of flora and fauna. This might just be the most improved game since its launch this entire generation.
Before you showed up, everything was great!
Far Cry New Dawn is a first-person shooter developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. The game is a spin-off of the Far Cry series and a narrative sequel to Far Cry 5. The story is set 17 years after the events of Far Cry 5. After the nuclear exchange known as the Collapse devastated the world, survivors attempt to rebuild the community in Hope County. Similar to its predecessors, Far Cry New Dawn is set in an open-world environment which the player can explore freely on foot or via various vehicles. The game uses a reimagined version of Far Cry 5's map. The nuclear war portrayed in Far Cry 5 has reshaped the landscape so that new areas have become available for the player to explore while others are inaccessible. The player assumes the role of a new character, whose gender and race can be customized. The Guns for Hire and Fangs for Hire system from Far Cry 5 return, with the character being able to recruit human survivors and animals for combat assistance. The player character can also encounter several specialists who have their own personal missions, special abilities, and story to help players to repair their weapons. Players acquire new weapons and attachments which can be upgraded to 3 different levels through crafting and finishing missions. Players can embark on treasure hunts and liberate different enemy encampments and outposts. Once liberated, they become fast travel points that enable players to quickly navigate the world. The game also features an upgradable home base named Prosperity, which would slowly expand and grow in size as players progress.
We dream of exploring the unknown.
Mass Effect Andromeda is an action role-playing game developed by BioWare and published by Electronic Arts. It is the 4th major entry in the Mass Effect series. The game is set in the Andromeda galaxy during the 29th century, where humanity is planning to populate new homeworlds as part of a strategy called the Andromeda Initiative. The player assumes the role of either Scott or Sarah Ryder, an inexperienced military recruit who joins the initiative and wakes up in Andromeda following a 634-year journey. Events transpire that result in Ryder becoming humanity's Pathfinder, tasked with finding a new homeworld for humanity while also dealing with an antagonistic alien race known as the Ket, and uncovering the secrets of a mysterious synthetic race known as the Remnant. For Mass Effect Andromeda, BioWare incorporated a lighter tone than previous installments in the series, utilized open-world elements, and placed an emphasis on exploration. Many of the series' traditional gameplay elements remained, while others were modified, such as combat, which is less cover-based and more mobile. The game is the largest in the series and offers the player the freedom to focus on either the main quest or side quests. Its score was composed by John Paisano and aims to match the game's mood by capturing the adventure of space exploration. Upon release, the game received praise for its improved combat and visuals. This is another one of those games that has improved a lot since it originally released, so if you didn't like it then, maybe go check it out now. It's much better, trust me.
They say your whole life flashes before your eyes when you die.
Rage 2 is a first-person shooter game developed by Avalanche Studios in conjunction with id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. Players assume control of Walker, the last ranger of Vineland, who must survive in a world inhabited by dangerous mutants and crazed bandits after it was hit by the asteroid 99942 Apophis. The majority of humankind died during this apocalyptic event. While new settlements and factions emerged, a group called the Authority declared themselves the new military power. Walker finds himself on a mission to find 3 individuals in order to stop the Authority and its leader, General Cross. Players are free to explore the game's apocalyptic open world and are given control over some of Walker's attributes, such as their gender, skills, or attire. Walker is able to wield various firearms and tools to fight against enemies, including returning weapons such as the wing stick. Players can develop Walker's skills with nanotrite-based powers. Through a mode called Overdrive, Walker's guns do more damage, enemies drop more energy, and they get healed constantly, providing players with an aggressive way to mow down enemies. Nanotrites from the first game, which act as special powers and ability boosts, can be used to increase combat efficiency. The game features vehicular combat, including trucks, buggies, and gyrocopters, with the player being able to drive any vehicle in the game's world. It received praise for its combat. Metro Exodus is a first-person shooter game developed by 4A Games and published by Deep Silver. It is set over the course of one whole in-game year on a post-apocalyptic Earth that has been devastated by a nuclear war. The player assumes the role of Artyom, who flees the Moscow metro and sets off on a continent-spanning journey with his allies to the Far East on a locomotive called the Aurora. Metro Exodus features survival horror and stealth elements. The player must cope with the new hazards and engage in combat against mutated creatures as well as hostile humans. The player wields an arsenal of handmade weaponry which can be customized through scavenging materials and a crafting system. The game features a mixture of linear levels and sandbox environments. It also includes a dynamic weather system, a day-night cycle, and environments that change along with the seasons as the story progresses. We Happy Few is an action-adventure survival horror game developed by Compulsion Games and published by Gearbox Publishing. The game combines role-playing, survival, and light roguelike elements. Taking place within the mid-1960s, following an alternative version of World War II, players take control over one of 3 characters, each of whom seek to complete a personal task while escaping the fictional city of Wellington Wells, a crumbling dystopia on the verge of societal collapse due to the overuse of a hallucinogenic drug that keeps its inhabitants blissfully unaware about the truth of their world, while leaving them easily manipulated and lacking morals. The developers focused on creating a story with strong narratives while underlying gameplay with a sense of paranoia and designing in-game decisions that are of moral gray areas and weight, which influence and affect later parts of the game. Design of the game's setting was based on various elements of 1960s British culture, with the developer, Compulsion Games, seeking inspiration on dystopian societies from various influences in the media, such as Brazil, 1984, Animal Farm, Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, and heavily on the trilogy Mad Adam. It received praise mostly focusing on its themes, story, and characters. Though it does have other similarities to The Outer Worlds, we put this one on our list largely because of the similarly satirical take on society.
What were you in the war? The big war you failed to win. You were Sergeant, yeah? Sergeant Malcolm Reynolds.
Firefly is an American space western drama television series created by writer and director Joss Whedon under his Mutant Enemy Productions label. Whedon served as an executive producer along with Tim Minear. The series is set in the year 2517 after the arrival of humans in a new star system and follows the adventures of the renegade crew of Serenity, a Firefly-class spaceship. The ensemble cast portrays the 9 characters who live on Serenity. Whedon pitched the show as 9 people looking into the blackness of space and seeing 9 different things. The show explores the lives of a group of people, some of whom fought on the losing side of a civil war, who make a living on the fringes of society as part of the pioneered culture of their star system. In this future, the only 2 surviving superpowers, the United States and China, fuse to form the central federal government called the Alliance, resulting in the fusion of the 2 cultures. According to Whedon's vision, nothing will change in the future. Technology will advance, but we will still have the same political, moral, and ethical problems as today. It won a Primetime Emmy Award in 2003 for Outstanding Special Visual Effects for a Series. The post-airing success of the show led Whedon and Universal Pictures to produce Serenity, a film which continues the story of the series, and the Firefly franchise expanded to other media, including comics and a role-playing game. I think Firefly is probably the best show ever that got canceled way too early. Go, watch it, now. Well, wait until you're done with the video, then go watch it. The Mandalorian, also known as Star Wars: The Mandalorian, is an American space western web television series created by Jon Favreau and released on Disney+. It is the first live-action series in the Star Wars franchise. Set 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi and 25 years prior to the events of The Force Awakens, it follows the title character, the Mandalorian bounty hunter Din Djarin, and his exploits beyond the reaches of the New Republic. Favreau also serves as head writer and showrunner, as well as executive producer alongside Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, and Colin Wilson. The series depicts a lone bounty hunter in the outer reaches of the galaxy far from the authority of the New Republic. The series has received positive reviews. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Star Wars as a TV show is working out way better for me than the movies are these days. So check it out if you haven't already. If you liked the video or it helped you out, click the thumbs up button below. It really helps us out. If you think it could help others, share it. Of course, subscribe for more content like this and more. And if you have anything to add to our list, feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching and keep attacking.